You know, it has really been a lot of fun to do this, to think and plan. And I know y'all are having fun too, so I'll give you another 20 seconds. No, it is. It is fun. It is fun. You know, it's about time for us to have lunch, right?
Maybe we should announce it.
I know.
This is like
They're
our
still,
best
yeah,
reunion.
I know. This is.
It'll be interesting to see if they leave.
Well, I know. Okay, your 20 seconds is about up. It truly is fun to see all of you guys have a great time. I am Beth Robertson, and this is my sidekick here, Lynn Benson. And we're really honored to be the chairs of tonight's celebration for the Bill Hobby Prime 83 birthday. Terrific, Bill. And I hope you do know what a prime birthday is. Anyone want to do a guess here in the... Well, I'll help you. I'll help you because I actually asked the governor himself. Prime is a number that is divisible only by itself and 1. So, who said you were not going to learn something tonight? But we're really delighted to be here to set the record straight on these 83 years. And our honorary chairs, Senator Rodney Ellis, Herb Kelleher, and Joe Jamail, longtime friends of our birthday boy, are our roasters and toasters for this evening. And we also would like to thank Beverly Kaufman, the chair of the Hobby Center for Public Policy Advisory Board, for agreeing to be our moderator. And for those of you that sense that you know that name, you're right. Beverly is the former Harris County clerk who counted your votes for many years. Now, if there's anyone that can moderate and keep these men in line, it's Beverly Kaufman. We have many elected officials, former elected officials, and a sea of governors, senators, mayors. We would be here till midnight if we recognized all of you. So consider yourself recognized. Thank you for being here. Lynn and I would like to take this opportunity to really thank this room of generous attendees. Tonight, our event is underwritten, so all the proceeds go to the Hobby School Initiative. And I want to tell you that we have netted, just with this evening, over $500,000. That is pretty good for a first fundraiser for the Hobby Center, but even more wonderful, a very select group of friends, led by a special group from Bill Hobby himself, have put together an endowment for the new Hobby School for Public Affairs at the University of Houston. And we have raised $5 million towards that endowment. So, Bill, thank you, and you join the rest of us in wishing yourself a happy birthday. Now, Lynn is going to tell you a little something about the center itself.
I would also like to thank all of you for being here and for being so generous, and to look out in this room and see this many people, and to know that Bill Hobby has so many wonderful friends, It was hard to get everybody in the room and hard to get you to sit down, and that is a huge tribute to the circle that Bill Hobby has run in his life. So thank you very much. As many of you may know, the Hobby Center for Public Policy has been an integral part of the University of Houston since 1981 as a nonpartisan research organization within the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences. The center's agenda combines innovative public policy research with education, training, and community outreach. As testament to its already national reputation, the Hobby Center has recently received a grant from the National Science Foundation to support its innovations in quantitative training. This puts the University of Houston in very good company. Only 8 other schools have received this recognition: Harvard, Duke, Princeton, the University of Chicago, the University of Michigan, Washington University, St. Louis, Berkeley, and UCLA. That is a great club to be in. Under the leadership of its director, Jim Granato, and with accomplishments such as this, the center is now poised to have an even larger presence at the university, in the city of Houston, and nationwide as the new Hobby School of Public Affairs. The need for the school is quite compelling. The University of Houston will join the LBJ School and the University of Texas in Dallas as the only schools in the state with a program that grants a Master's of Public Policy degree. Its goal will be to educate leaders in government, business, and nonprofits to analyze complex data and to arrive at ethical, pragmatic, reality-based solutions for today's complex world. But more importantly, the Hobby School will closely reflect its namesake. As you know, Bill Hobby has been the poster child of what makes government work. Yes. Absolutely. And the school, as Lieutenant Governor, as faculty at LBJ School, in the hobby media businesses, he insisted on a rigorous analysis of all issues with transparency and real-world solutions. In short, every Hobby School graduate will be well-versed in public policy and the rigorous analysis of public policy issues. It is with great pride that the Hobby School of Public Affairs will be part of the stellar legacy that Bill Hobby has given to the university, to the city, and to this state. Thank you, Bill Hobby. The genesis of the school could not have been accomplished without the support of Renee Couture and her vision of elevating the University of Houston's research capabilities to Tier 1 status while increasing viable connections to the city of Houston. Since becoming the president, never has the school been more relevant, more vibrant, and more important to our city. Please welcome Renee Couture, Cougar #1.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the land of red. You can see that. It's a great day. It's a great day to be at the University of Houston. We have a great friend in Bill Hobby, great inspiration. On January the 2nd, something has happened that has started our year to really good beginning, and that was in the Armed Forces Bowl game. University of Houston did a magical thing, came back from nowhere, and just took the nation by surprise. I didn't think anything could top that day and the magic of that day, but tonight, it definitely tops that day's magic. When I walked in the room, the energy, the friends, the people whom I've admired, some of you from far away because I haven't had time to sit down and have a nice long chat with you, my heart just melted. And all of this has been possible because of a wonderful, wonderful Bill Hobby. So I am honored tonight to join Governor Hobby's many friends, colleagues, family members in celebration of his birthday and in gratitude for his lifelong commitment to good governance and equal access to public services and public education. The governor's sense of civic duty was instilled in him from an early age. Grandson of a legislator, son of a lieutenant governor and governor, son of the first Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, and that's not even counting the gallons of newspaper ink that ran through his veins. As we all know, he served his nation as a naval intelligence officer. He devoted many years to his family's media enterprises, and he was admired, and I dare say revered, by friend and foe alike during his impeccable government career. As a public servant, he answered the call of duty for many times, serving on task forces, advisory boards convened by President Johnson. His service to Texas is legendary. We all know he served an extraordinary 5 terms as lieutenant governor. I wish he was there in Austin now. When not presiding over the Texas Senate, he found the time to serve on governmental boards and committees ranging from energy and criminal justice to public education, water quality, and mental health. And let's not forget the historic Closing the Gaps statewide initiative that has shaped and guided the mission of public universities in Texas for the past 15 years. That initiative had its genesis in the 1998 Blue Ribbon Texas Commission on a Representative Student Body, which was chaired, you guessed it, by Governor Hobby. Equally at ease solving mathematical problems and crunching data, writing a treatise on public policy, or trying to understand the mysteries of the heavens through the Hobby-Alberly telescope, Governor Hobby never slowed down after his retirement from the Texas Senate. His connections to the UH system and the flagship University of Houston go back to 1965, when he was appointed by Governor Connally to the Board of Regents when UH became a public university. 3 decades later, when the UH system was going through a time of unprecedented turmoil, he was invited to serve as chancellor to calm the waters and pave the way for a transition that created the totally new administrative structure we now have at the University of Houston. He served from 1995 to 1997 for the exorbitant salary of $1 per year. I wonder how many eyebrows that raised when he filed his income tax returns. Governor Hobby also led the efforts to establish a teaching center in Sugar Land, securing a gift of land from the Texas Department of Transportation to create a permanent campus. From an initial enrollment of 200, that site is now a full-fledged University of Houston campus with an enrollment of 1,500 students and on the way to doubling that number. Governor Hobby's contributions to UH continue to this day. At the Hobby Center for Public Policy, he is a hands-on presence, actively participating in seminars and programs. I can only imagine what his involvement will be when the center becomes the Hobby School of Public Affairs. Parliamentary expert, educator, policymaker, journalist and author, regent and chancellor of a higher education system, philanthropist, and something many of you may not know, my good neighbor and inspiration for many years. Some of you say that I have done a good job here. Well, let me tell you why I had no other choice. Governor Hobby lives right across the street, and he told me, rather I should say he warned me, that if he didn't like anything I did, or that anytime he felt like it, even if I had 1,000 guests at my house, he is going to walk in there in his pajamas. To avoid that, I made sure I always did a good job. Governor Hobby, on behalf of the citizens of our great city, our great state, and our great nation, I thank you for your service, your leadership, and your love for everything that being a Texan embodies. A love for the land and its people, optimism and a can-do attitude, resilience and determination, and the will to do what is right and to do it well. Happy birthday, Governor Hobby, and many, many more. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes, I'm talking to you. We hope you've enjoyed your dinner. I'm Beverly Kaufman, and it is my distinct honor to be here tonight to preside over these overachieving roasters for a cause I truly believe in. And before I introduce the opening part of the program, I feel very compelled to recognize the chairs of this event, Beth Robertson and Lynn Vinson, for the outstanding job they've done. For great things. Of course, they're both too modest to have written that into the script, so I'm happy to improvise. Now, please turn your attention to the video screens to see and hear more about our honoree, Bill Hobby.
Bill Hobby and I go way, way back. We've got some pictures of a young William P. Hobby Jr. and a young James A. Baker III boxing.
I met Governor Hobby when I was first elected to public office. I was student body president at Worthing High School.
I was a fledgling news reporter, KPRC TV.
When he got elected lieutenant governor in 1972, I got appointed Secretary of State.
I had just been elected to the legislature and scared to death. And I had Governor Bill Hobby teaching me school finance.
Shy, reserved, nerdy.
Well, he's always told people he's a recreational mathematician.
Well, I think he's a classic quant. His idea of fun was to do these Mensa books of pages and pages of algebra calculations.
He had a vision about education, and he had a vision about poor people.
His focus on higher education was probably the hallmark of his many years of public service as lieutenant governor.
We not only made the biggest reforms in Texas history as far as education goes, we also raised taxes to pay for it.
He knows that it's a complex topic and that the soundbite solutions are that you just don't pass a law and improve education.
He just always knew that the only way to make the social escalator work is to educate people.
He never said, "Oh my gosh, I wish you were a Democrat." He just embraced that we were going to serve together.
We come from a tradition of getting things done and reaching across the aisle to make it happen. And that's how you govern. You govern from the center.
He doesn't like floor fights.
You may get asked to come back to his office and have a discussion, and you would always come out of there believing what he told you.
One point during debate, Senator Schwartz rose and addressed the chair, Bill Hobby, and said, "May I speak briefly?" And Governor Hobby said, "You may, but I doubt if you can."
Bill recalls that his first real introduction into politics was going to a Republican convention with Oviedo. And I laughed and said, "So is that why you became a Democrat?"
Bill has been a strong leader in his family.
It was always leadership by example, and I think the best leadership he gave us was to marry my mother.
Diana and his children were always there, a part of what he did. She was outgoing, she was elegant. Not that he was inelegant, but those ties didn't quite match their
Value propositions that most people are concerned about, money, clothing, cars, that never crossed his radar.
I never will forget one day on the campus at Kincaid School, we got into a real fist fight. And I want to tell you, don't ever underestimate Bill Hobby. It was a draw.
He said, we passed the bill, you want to carry it over with me? So foolishly, I guess, I went over, carried the bill over with him to the House side, and to a standing ovation. Bill Hobby said this is the first time anybody's applauded, much less had a standing ovation for increasing taxes. And I said, yes, it may be the last time. Sure enough, I think it was.
I learned how to shoot better than he does.
Number one, keep a sense of humor.
He taught me a lot about patience, about doing my homework, about digging in and making a decision on what you think is right, and taught me a lot about compromise.
As someone who worked for him, I can tell you that he was a good lieutenant governor, honestly.
Carry yourself humbly, behave decently towards all humanity because that's your duty, and do the right thing. About that simple.
Serious, thoughtful, honest service to the people of Texas.
It was Bill Hobby, more than anyone else who has served in the position of lieutenant governor, that really made that position the powerful position that it has been in state government.
Bill Hobby brought so many good people into government and identified good people who were career public servants in many of the state agencies.
We have an indigent healthcare system that works because of him.
I've sort of said, you are the practical guy, you are the application guy. Your whole legacy is quantitative, and that is, does it work?
You look back in Texas history, even from this point in time, and he stands out. He was a bright star in a star-filled history.
Happy 83rd birthday, Bill. It's not all bad. Take that from someone who's approaching 85.
Happy birthday, Bill Hobby.
My heartfelt wishes for not only this birthday, which is the 42nd anniversary of your 39th birthday.
It's been a joy to work with you over the last couple of years, and I hope we're working together over many more.
So we celebrate your birthday, and hey, keep in good health, because there's a lot of us who still count on you.
Happy birthday, Bill Hobby. You deserve the very best.
Happy birthday, Governor Hobby, and may you have many, many more.
Texas has been the beneficiary of your life and your service, and we look forward to many years of that service and benefits to the people of this state, and we're very grateful for your life and service.
Happy birthday, Papa. Thank you for the legacy, thank you for the generosity, thank you for unending love and support.
Very moving and very true. A terrific testament to a great man. Kind of looks like Lonesome Dove, doesn't it? Now, before we get into the meat of the program, do a little housekeeping here. I've been instructed by our chairs to let all of you know that the lovely centerpieces on your table are not for sale. They were generously donated by HEB this evening. Thank you, Scott, who's in the audience. The lucky person whose birthday is closest to today may claim the centerpiece at the table or bestow it upon some other covetous person if they don't want to keep it. So, yeah. He's so shy. He's so shy. Okay, now, Now then, we've seen this wonderful video. I hope to have a copy of that in my archives at home and my own collection to remember this night. All these beautiful things that have been very aptly said about our honoree this evening. But now, we're going to learn even more about him, perhaps the less public side. Each of these fine gentlemen are all good friends of Bill and have known and worked with him for many years. So I'm sure it will be the truth and nothing but the truth, Your Honor. Our roasters' bios are in your program, but I thought it would be helpful to note the connection to Bill to each of the roasters. Beginning with my senator, Senator Rodney Ellis, who's been in the state Senate since 1990 and has passed over 600 bills. Senator Ellis literally grew up with Governor Hobby. He worked for him as an intern and a staff person through his graduate work at LBJ School and through UT Law School. Herb Kelleher, founder and CEO of one of the most successful airlines in history. They met innocently. I question the word innocently. They met innocently in 1959 at San Antonio Fiesta, where Bill's sister Jessica was a duchess. They struck it off famously. When Herb and Roland King created Southwest Airlines, Governor Hobby asked to be on the board, and we know what the answer was. And then Joe Jamail, the king of torts, the nation's best known and most successful trial attorney. Joe and his late wife Lee knew the Hobby socially, and of course, it was years of mediating the tort reform bill du jour each session that made Bill Hobby and Joe appreciate each other. The governor could always count on Joe to solve irreconcilable differences between the defense attorneys and the trial lawyers. Now let's get to roasting. Please welcome Senator Rodney Ellis to the podium. Please come on up.
Well, thank you very much, Beverly. You do an outstanding job. I'm sure that these two icons that are coming after me, Governor Hobby, are going to show their aspirins and your aspirin as well. So I'm going to do a little bit of roasting and a little bit of toasting. In case you don't know it, Hobbies have been in the Texas State Capitol for over 132 years and 5 generations. 35 members of the extended Hobby family have been associated with the Texas legislature. There's 30 regular sessions and countless special sessions. As governors, lieutenant governors, members of the legislature, staffers, and mascots. The line extends all the way from Alfred Marmaduke Hobby in 1861 to his great-great-grandnephew, Paul Hobby, and his great-great-great-grandniece, Grace Ovida Hobby, in 1993. In fact, Ben Barnes, who's here tonight, tells me that the Hobbies and their kin have infested the state capitol for so long. The current Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick, figured he could never get a real job in the Texas State Senate. So he took a job working for a Hobby media outlet to talk his way into a position of power. Ben Barnes, where are you? Barnes, you see this? Stand up, Ben Barnes. I know he wants that recognition. Give him that round of applause. Barnes made the comment to me when I called and asked for a ride on his plane to get in here earlier today that Dewhurst, whose lovely wife is here, might be the tallest. Patrick might be the most talkative. You know, I guess you could say that a few others mark that place, but none of them happens to be as witty or as nice and good looking or look as good as Ben Barnes does at his age. Ben Barnes, I'm so glad you're here tonight. It was mentioned earlier, I first met Bill Hobby when I was already in office, student council president. I guess I could have done what most of my classmates were doing, Alicia, after prom night, but I didn't. We were hanging up signs saying Bill Hobby would make a good lieutenant governor, honestly. The thing I remember most about Bill Hobby back in 1972 was he didn't talk much. And you know what? He still doesn't talk much. When I went on his staff, I made a bet with another staffer, James Calloway, that I was gonna make Governor Hobby talk to me if it was the last thing I did. So I went about driving him around various political events in Austin, Texas, giving speeches, and I just talked. And occasionally he'd look up, look over, and then he'd go back to what he was doing. And when we got to the end of the evening, he just got out of that red Volkswagen, closed the door, and said, "You got a lot on your mind, Rodney." There are a lot of things that anybody can learn from Bill Hobby. How to dress is not on the list. You could always tell when his wife picked his clothes or if he did it on his own. I think I might have a few shots you're gonna show up here of this great dapper dresser. When the senators paid a tribute to Bill Hobby on his last day in the Senate, Senator Zaffarini made the comment that his mother picked his clothes when he got married. I mentioned in 1972 when I worked in his campaign, ties were wide in 1972. Everybody else's ties other than Bill Hobby's. He was wearing skinny neck ties in 1972. The running joke was he was so cheap, he was wearing the ties his daddy had when he ran for lieutenant governor. I took that megabus from Austin, Texas to Houston about 2 years ago because I couldn't get one of my staffers to drive me home on New Year's Day. So I mentioned it to Governor Hobby. Next thing I knew, this man was taking the megabus to Austin on a regular basis. Now I know he has a plane because I bum a free ride on it every time I can. You can't help but wonder, what the hell is he doing with all of that money? I mean, look, I know you give a lot of it to charitable purposes like this Hobby School of Public Affairs, but damn, I thought charity started at home. On a more serious note, I went back and reread Governor Hobby's book, trying to get ready for this event tonight. Read every page of it. You talk about a guy that has a sense of numbers and detail. It's not only his birthday, today is his mother's birthday. Today is his sister's birthday. I know he's a smart guy, but how did he arrange that? That book also mentions that those steps on the back hall of the Capitol, one of the longest staircases in Austin, has 32 steps. Only Bill Hobby would know. One is for each step, each member of the Texas State Senate and the Lieutenant Governor. Then you go around the circle, the barrister there, one step for each statewide elected official in Texas. I'm not gonna try to match the stuff that these two are gonna say about you because you gave me my first job governor, you paid me far more than I deserved. I think the best tribute that I've heard anybody give to you, Governor Hobby, was a tribute that Texas Monthly wrote in that issue as you left public office. And it said, and I quote, "Bill Hobby has had more effect on Texas government for a longer time with a better end result than anyone since Sam Houston. Governor Patrick asked me to give his greetings to you because he couldn't be here today. Ray knew, I think that means the check will be in the budget for this hobby school. Let's hope that's what it means. Governor Hobby, they don't make politicians like you anymore. God bless you, Bill Hobby, because you've certainly blessed us in Texas. Thank you.
Well done, well said, well deserved. Okay. All right, Herb Kelleher, you're cleared for takeoff. Please welcome Herb to the podium.
Well, first I'd like to say if anybody objects to me having an unlit cigarette in my mouth, you are truly a neurotic nerd. I'll tell you what, I'm somewhat abashed this evening to be in between these two gentlemen. Frankly, it makes me feel a little bit like, I guess, a flea on the neck of a massive Great Dane. The flea, me, is totally insignificant. But by God, is he proud of the company that he's keeping. It's both a profound pleasure and a distinct honor for this flea to be with you this evening on behalf of a great man and a great Texan. Now, as I look around the room, I see that half of your faces are kind of mystified when I said great man and great Texan. I am talking about Bill Hobby. And it is also an honor to join you in support of a great cause, the Hobby Center at UH, a university led by a great leader who is brilliantly competent and inspiring at the same time, Renu Couture. Bill Hobby, frankly, is kind of difficult to roast. He is so free of the flaws and the foibles and the idiosyncrasies that beset most of humankind, that roasting him is akin to, I don't know, satirizing an M&M, you know, which are always perfect in their roundness, or I don't know, you know, mocking Reynolds Wrap. Have you ever seen how majestically that emerges from the package in his wonderful, emblematic silver presence? And I asked Beth Robertson, I said, Beth, are you sure that the people that live in River Oaks are going to know what, you know, Reynolds Wrap is? And she told me yes, because every day, Herb, they wrap their sandwiches in the Reynolds Wrap as they pack their lunch boxes to go to work. But now I reflect that on that Reynolds Wrap box there's also a bunch of little, very sharp, serrated teeth. They're the ones that cut it loose from the box. And so I'd like to pay attention to just a few of those serrations for a moment. First of all, I think Senator Ellis was extremely kind to Governor Hobby in talking about his attire. He was very generous, and frankly, Senator, I agree with you. Bill Hobby is not the snappiest dresser that I have ever met. As a matter of fact, Goodwill Industries, winos in the New York Bowery, and homeless people have actually tried to make donation of clothes to him. Furthermore, Bill Hobby is, tactically speaking, notice the word tactical, tactically speaking, the worst card player that I have ever encountered. As a matter of fact, for many years, I counted on his losses to finance my family's Christmas gifts. But notice I said tactically. Strategically, however, he was brilliant. Like the night he said to me, after I've been cleaning his clock for about 4 hours, he said, Kelleher, if you keep winning, guess what? Southwest Airlines is going to be serving Andrew Airport in Houston, Stinson Field in San Antonio, and Addison Airport in Dallas. Not that I took that seriously, don't misunderstand me. But on the next hand, I got the only royal straight flush that I've ever experienced in a poker game. And of course, I folded. Governor Hobby has also, at different times, evinced certain tendencies towards me. I don't want to broaden it beyond that, but towards me, that I think that Freud and Jung, if they got together, might jointly characterize as, oh, I don't know, grabbing a word out of the air, sadistic. Governor Hobby told me, however, that my treatment was sanctioned by the Texas Constitution, which is so damn long. You know, how can you tell? Who knew? But just to give you a sampling, on one occasion, I went to Governor Hobby about a pending jet fuel tax bill. As you can imagine, I had some interest in that. And after giving him my usual very informative and knowledgeable presentation, consisting mostly of whining, Bill flung open the door to his conference room where his kitchen cabinet was awaiting and said, "Hey, Herb Kelleher just gave me a terrific idea for solving all of the budget deficit woes of the state of Texas in one bill." Thank you. That's the first time I've ever sweated on the back of my knees. On another occasion, and Senator Ellis will know who I'm talking about, Governor Hobby told me that he would support a proposed bill if a certain senator who was somewhat averse to controversy, put it nicely, would endorse it. So I went to that senator, and he said that he would endorse the bill I was interested in if all 30 other senators would also endorse it. This is the kind of man you want in the foxholes with you when you're on the front line. So sure enough, I realized Governor Hobby's canny political instincts because it does facilitate the passage of a bill in the Texas Senate that has 31 sponsors and endorsers before it comes to a vote, since there's only 31 people to vote. Governor, I revere your talents. And these are just two somewhat minor examples of the abhorrent and multitudinous burdens and indignities to which I was subjected by Governor Hobby over 18 years. But, chin up, Herb. I turned from the beast and Governor Hobby to the beauty. He's one of the finest and most enjoyable friends I've ever had. He's one of the most innovative and intelligent nerds I've ever met. He's one of the purest-hearted and most public-spirited office holders I've ever known or known of. The Texas that we enjoy today is in large part his creation. And in addition, he is truly the father of Southwest Airlines. So thank you, Bill. Love you, Bill. And in the fashion of Marilyn Monroe, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, dear Governor. Happy birthday to you.
Woo. I guess I should have told you to fasten your seatbelts, huh? Well, thank you. That was wonderful. Now, we're at the point in the trial where it's time for closing arguments. And so it's my honor to recognize Joe Jamail to the podium for his remarks. Please welcome Joe.
Well, this isn't going to be what I would ordinarily say because I've been warned not to use my usual language. But Bill, I got to ask you a question. Do you really believe all that bullshit they've said about me? I've known you too long, man. Yeah. And he said, when Herb says he was cheap, and Rodney, they don't even come close. He wears pants with rubber pockets so he can steal soup. It would be impossible to talk about Bill Hobby in the few minutes I've been given. So I thought...
Joe, excuse me.
So I thought I would just talk about me. Ordinarily, before I would introduce the guest of honor, I'd introduce several people who admire and revere him. But when I look around and see there's no one here like that, it's hard for me to figure out what to say. I've been told I couldn't say some things. Anyway, Bill has the grace of a swan, the wisdom of an owl, and the eye of an eagle. Really, truly, he's for the birds. He started out with nothing and still has most of it left. I tell you how smart he is. For years, he thought Taco Bell was a Mexican telephone company. He ended, as Senator Ellis told you, his record of 18 years as Lieutenant Governor. In 1991, some politicians, as you know, are honored for their years of service by taking mementos with them, having buildings named after them, and a sense of pride and some memories from the pictures or important engagements they attended, and they're honored. Bill has all of those, but Bill has something more that you should consider. As a politician, he has more to do with running our government. So when he left, he took with him all of the Democrats, and they've never been seen since. It's not common, but once in a while, fate, fortune, whoever or whatever controls gets it right. They got it right with Bill. I've been his friend. I've been his lawyer. Forever, I guess. It's the right match. Bill Hobby, Lieutenant Governor. He made the position powerful when it was not powerful. But it was the right fit. When Texas made Bill Hobby Lieutenant Governor, it was the right fit. Hobby has lived his life, good and bad, but he has used his education, his philosophy, social studies, literature, training, teaching skills. He has labored for equality with dignity and integrity. I believe that Bill believes, and I know him as well as anybody alive, believes that the only way to achieve and preserve all the things that are precious to us is to build and believe it and lead these things, do it through education. He attempted to and still attempts, in this group tonight, attempting to eradicate prejudice, hatred, and ignorance. He has always been in the forefront of that fight, promoting understanding and compassion. Bill, thank you for being my friend.
Well, Joe, you clean up pretty good. There's nothing more to say. Let's bring our honoree to the stage.
Well, what do you say after a series of speeches like that? Those speeches, of course, brought back quite a few memories of some time ago, some of them pleasant and some of them unpleasant. Rodney Ellis has a deep, dark secret in his past that I'm going to reveal. I'm going to lay bare. I'm going to rip back the curtains tonight. As Rodney mentioned, he was on my staff while he was going through LBJ school and law school. And I trained him so well that he became a state senator. I trained him even better than that. Now this is Rodney's deep, dark secret. that he does not admit in his official biography, does not discuss. I trained him so well that he became Lieutenant Governor of Texas. You didn't know that? From November 11th to November 21st, year 2000, Rodney Ellis was Lieutenant Governor of Texas. And his picture hangs with pictures of Barnes and me, and in the back hall of the Senate where all the pictures of lieutenant governors hang. And that came about in this way. The Constitution originally said that when the office of lieutenant governor becomes vacant, the president pro tem of the Senate automatically becomes lieutenant governor. Grant Jones amended the Constitution in the 1980s to provide for the current system. The problem with the pro tem automatically becoming lieutenant governor is it's purely a matter of chance who the pro tem might be at any time. The Constitution says that the Senate shall elect a pro tem at the beginning and end of each session. And the pro tem is usually just simply the most senior senator who has not been pro tem before, so it's a matter of chance. So Grant Jones amended the Constitution in the 1980s to provide for the current system, which says that when the lieutenant office becomes vacant, as it did when Governor Bush became president and Lieutenant Governor Perry became governor, then the president pro tem of the Senate, who was Senator Ellis at that time, must convene the Senate within, 20 days, 30 days? And the Senate shall then proceed to consciously elect the lieutenant governor rather than it just being a matter of chance. Well, this was the first time that had happened since the Constitution had been amended. So it was necessary for the parliamentarian of the Senate to write a rule specifying the precise procedures. And I was Rodney's private parliamentarian. And Rodney asked me and Walter Fisher, who was parliamentarian of the Senate, Walter had drafted a rule for the Senate to consider, and we were going over that rule. The rule provided that, anyway, it's done by secret ballot, paper ballot, and each senator, everybody makes their speeches, and then the senators file up to the front of the chamber and drop their notes with their choice on it in a bowl. And then the Secretary of the Senate and the parliamentarian and Patsy Spall, who's now Secretary of the Senate, retired to the Secretary's office, counted the votes, and whoever was last on the list, their name was thrown out, and you go through the process until it got down to one, and the one was Bill Ratliff. Couldn't have been a better choice. But and then they counted those secret ballots according to this rule, and then burned the ballots. And I said, Rodney, this sounds like what the Cardinals do when they elect a pope. And Rodney said, if you see a puff of black smoke, it's me. But Rodney is apparently ashamed of his time as lieutenant governor because it's not mentioned in his biography or anywhere else. Herb Kelleher. Herb, I don't like to be critical, you know that. Yeah. Now, I got to tell you that I was on HER's board for 18 years. And when I went on the board, the retirement age was 72. Now, when I'm about to turn 72, they amended the bylaws to make it 75. Now, it's pure coincidence that Herb and I are the same age, and that let Herb stay on the board too. Only when they amended the bylaws, they said you have to retire at 75 unless your name is Kelleher. Well, they said unless you've been chairman and CEO and so forth during your time. But Herb mentioned the jet fuel tax. And I do remember one time the Senate's voting on a tax bill, and Carl Parker sent up a jet fuel tax amendment to tax jet fuel, and I don't know, got 7 or 8 votes. When it was defeated handily, and looking up in the gallery, I could see Herb's lobbyist, a little short red-haired fellow, I can't remember his name right now. I saw him scurrying out of the gallery, obviously to call Herb and tell him what happened. So over the lunch break, having nothing else to do but make trouble, I called Herb and said, Herb, the Senate's, as you may have heard, the Senate's considering this tax bill. And it looks, and as you may have heard, Parker's amendment went down 89 votes this morning. But Herb, this looks right now like I'm gonna come up about $20 million short of what I need in this tax bill. So I'm gonna give Parker another run after lunch. Now, you can't do that under Senate rules. The Senate can consider an amendment only once at each stage of the bill. But I figured Kelleher didn't know that. But I gave him an anxious hour or two, which is what I had in mind anyway. And not once. Now, Herb, you never expressed your appreciation for this. When I was on the Southwest board, I was chairman of the compensation committee. Now, Herb, did I even once cut your salary, even when you'd given me a pretty good reason to do so? Never once. Never, not a one. Yeah, if you believe that. No, Herb, nothing is zero. You remember there were numbers in front of all those zeros that you were making?
You should have stayed away from Michigan. You know too much about it.
Joe mentioned quite correctly that Joe was of enormous help when I was in the Capitol, because every session there was a plaintiff's bar versus defense bar bill. Sometimes it was called no-fault insurance, sometimes it was called tort reform. It seems to me like several times it's called workers' comp. And these were the most controversial bills of the session. And they were always settled in my conference room with Joe leading the plaintiff's bar, and Morris Atlas, Joe's close friend, Morris Atlas, leading the defense bar, and they were always the same lawyers, and they sat in there for weeks, billing somebody hundreds of dollars an hour, I'm sure. And so, with my great legal knowledge, I was a real help to the negotiations. I think sticking my head in it, how you guys getting along? Well, gee, these issues are so complicated. And Yeah, I know they're complicated. That's why I got you guys up here. So, and I couldn't really help the negotiations by saying, well, I think I'll throw it out there next Tuesday and see what happens. But I think it was my last session. Joe wasn't there. He put somebody else in charge of the plaintiff's bar. And incidentally, since I'm not a lawyer, I'm not very smart. It took me a long time to figure out that those plaintiff's lawyers, the plaintiffs, guys representing the plaintiff's bar, and the guys who the defense bar actually had a lot in common. I mean, where would both of them be without trials, you know? But I think it's my last session, and I forget what the issue was called that session, but Joe wasn't there. And it's getting late in the session, and these guys don't seem to be getting anywhere. And so I finally called him. I said, if you people will excuse my French here, Jamel, get your ass up here and get this thing settled for me, would you? Which he did. The next morning, page 1 of the Austin American, story with a picture of Joe. Headline says, quite correctly, says, Hobby sends for Jamel to settle the issue. And I don't know how that story got there, Joe. I had nothing to do with getting it there. Well, so much for the roasters. There are so many people here tonight that I want to thank from the bottom of my heart. One in particular is already Garnett Coleman, I think, has been recognized. For his great services to the university and to the Hobby School of Public Affairs in past sessions, but already in this session, which has just begun, he's got $2,200,000 a year in the House version of the appropriations bill. And that's, believe me, that is a big step forward. Thank all of you for being here. Good night.